I asked the city's most dangerous man to show mercy, and he completely destroyed a billionaire's life instead. I'm trapped in a fake dating contract with a ruthless mafia boss. When a rival billionaire destroyed my ballet studio to send Roman a message, I begged him not to use violence. So he didn't. Instead, he systematically bankrupted the man overnight, revoking his permits and calling in all his loans. He wiped out a rival without throwing a single punch, and he did it all to protect me.
Picture this absolute cinematic scene. Nina Vale is frozen in the freezing marble lobby of Roman Voss and his massive empire. Her hands are shaking, holding a folder that contains her brother's death sentence, an insane gambling debt signed in blood. She spent the whole night bracing to meet a literal monster. Instead, she gets 6 feet of pure, calculated danger wrapped in a dark suit. His eyes lock onto hers like winter steel. "You came alone?" he asks, sounding like poured whiskey. He tells her she is either brave or completely stupid. "Stick with me tonight. You and I are going to unpack this crazy drama. It really teaches us a solid life lesson. Sometimes the only way to beat the darkness that wants to swallow you whole is to walk straight into it with your head held high." Nina gets in the elevator watching those numbers climb. 45, 46, 47. Every floor drags her further from the safety of the normal world. Down there, sweet ballet teachers do not hand themselves over to mafia bosses who make criminals tremble. The doors open to a space designed purely to flex. Huge windows show the city looking like a helpless kingdom. The receptionist gives her the blankest stare ever. "I have an appointment," Nina forces out, hating her shaking voice. The woman points down the hall, saying, "Mr. Voss expects her." Nina steps forward, her shoes clicking on the marble. It brings up a huge life lesson. If you want to survive the top floor of life, you have to fake your confidence even when you are completely terrified. She rocks up wearing her best black dress. Super simple, making sure not to look like she is flirting with the boss. She only wears a silver watch, a final gift from her mom who passed away. She thinks to herself, "Mom, I am so sorry you have to see me like this." She pushes open these massive oak doors. Inside, Roman is standing by the windows, barking on the phone. "I do not care what Martinez wants." He snaps, sounding completely icy. "Remind him what we did to the last guy." Nina's stomach drops. Hearing rumors about a savage boss is one thing, but standing inside his cage is next level. The life lesson here is pretty obvious. You can mentally prepare for a bad situation all you want, but real danger will always hit you 10 times harder than you ever expected. Roman literally owns half this city: shipping, construction, and security. But in the shadows, his empire runs on absolute street brutality. "I will call you back," Roman mutters, dropping his phone. When he turns around, all the oxygen leaves the room. Pictures do not do this guy justice. He moves like a predator ready to strike, with a jawline sharp enough to cut glass. His eyes are absolute nightmare fuel. They are the crushing gray of a winter storm, pinning her to the spot. Every survival instinct in her brain screams at her to run, but she holds her ground. This right here is a massive lesson. Sometimes the scariest monsters look exactly like royalty, and you cannot let their expensive shine blind you to the deadly danger. Miss Vale, his voice is completely flat, but you know he could ruin her life in seconds. You are on time. That is something. She whispers a quick thank you for seeing her. "Did I actually give you a choice?" He shoots back. Bro is completely ruthless. He sits at his massive desk and orders her to sit. Nina collapses into the chair, holding her folder like a shield. Up close, the details are crazy. He has a pale scar on his cheek. Your brother, Roman says, super slowly, is a complete idiot. Nina feels her face burn red. "I know," she whispers. "Do you?" he asks, pulling out a huge file. Because Josh walked into my club and burned cash he never had. The life lesson here is simple. Never play games with resources that belong to someone far more dangerous than you. He lost $60,000 in his first week, Roman says coldly. Did the idiot stop? No, he dug his own grave. Nina grips her folder until her knuckles turn white. Her dumb brother really thought he could beat a mob casino. By the time my guys cut him off, Roman continues, he owed $243,000. He slides a paper across the desk, plus interest. Nina looks at the number, $296,000. The whole room feels like it is spinning. He does not have that, she whispers. No kidding, Roman replies, and I do not either, she admits. Roman leans back, scanning her. So why are you here? Did you think I would fold for a pretty face? I came to negotiate, she fires back. The life lesson? Always own your bad hand. Bold confidence is your best weapon when you are completely outgunned. Negotiate, Roman repeats, slightly amused. Josh made a mistake, Nina begs, pulling out her papers. I own a small ballet studio. It is fully paid off and worth $70,000. She pushes the deed across his desk. I have a degree. I speak 3 languages. My record is spotless. Forcing finish, his dark voice cuts her off. I am offering collateral, she stammers. You would trade your life's work for an idiot's poker debt? Roman grabs the deed and tosses it back. The studio you started at 19, using your dead mother's life insurance. Wow. Of course this boss already pulled her file. She feels completely exposed, like he is reading her mind. I am offering everything I have, she insists. The life lesson here? Never sacrifice your own hard-built dreams just to clean up someone else's toxic mistakes. I will do whatever you need, she begs. Office work, translating. I will work off his debt. At what rate? Roman counters. Say I value your skills at $100,000 a year. That is 3 whole years just to pay the base amount. Can your studio survive without you for 3 years? A no. Nina whispers. She has teachers to pay and kids who rely on her. It is her mom's final legacy. I will find a way, she lies. Listen to me closely. You and I have probably both tried to save someone who refuses to be saved. You will lose everything, Roman says coldly. Your business will go bankrupt. Your business will go bankrupt. After 3 years of hell, you will just have a useless brother who knows you will bleed to fix his mess. Every word hits like a truck. The life lesson? Enabling toxic behavior only destroys your own life in the end. Picture this. You and I are watching from the shadows of this room. Nina fights back bitter tears. Then what do you suggest? She asks, hating. Her weak voice. Just let you kill him? Roman turns smoothly. I do not kill over gambling debts. That is bad business, he mutters. Dead men cannot pay. He leans against his desk. But I definitely require consequences. Your brother is 21. He is old enough to learn that bad choices come with a heavy tax. His eyes turn to pure ice. Whether he lives or dies means nothing to me. I only care about order. Nina's hands curl into shaking fists. So what happens now? She asks. Roman picks up her studio deed. That depends. The life lesson here. If you show unearned mercy to a reckless fool, the world will instantly mistake your kindness for fatal weakness. You walked in ready to negotiate, offering collateral for your brother's mess, Roman says smoothly. That takes more spine than most guys who walk through my door. I am not scared of you, she fires back. It is a total lie and they both know it. Then Roman flashes a smile. Guys, it is the most chilling expression ever. Not cruel, just completely empty. You should be, he whispers, but let us pretend you are exactly as brave as you act. He walks around the desk, getting close enough that she can smell his dark cologne. I am going to make you an offer. Take it, or let Josh drown. Nina's throat feels like sandpaper. What kind of offer? She asks. The kind that keeps your brother breathing and your business open. The life lesson here? Sometimes faking absolute bravery is the only shield you have left to survive. Roman tilts his head, analyzing her like a chess piece. I have a problem, Miss Vale, and you might be the exact person to fix it. Nina gulps. What kind of problem could I possibly help you with? Roman points at the city skyline. Perception. I have endless money and power. What I am missing is actual respectability. Guys, he wants to build a clean empire, but his savage reputation keeps elite doors locked. You want me to make you look respectable? Nina asks, stunned. He does not blink. I want you to stand next to me and make high society think I am worth their time. You want to hire me as an escort, she snaps. I want to hire exactly what you are, he replies coldly. A professional woman with real cultural class. The life lesson here is brutal. Money can buy you an army, but it can never buy you a spotless reputation. You will attend fancy events with me, Roman continues, his voice dropping low. You will be charming, smart, and exactly as real as you are acting now. He pauses. You will also live in the penthouse, 3 floors down, so my security team can watch you. Live with you, she gasps. Near me, not with me, he corrects. He drops the brutal terms, 6 months of absolute loyalty. In exchange, he wipes her brother's debt, funds her studio, and pays her 10 grand a month. Nina's brain short-circuits over that crazy money. Why me? She asks, her voice shaking. You could hire a real professional. Roman steps a fraction closer, his stormy gaze incredibly heavy. The life lesson here is absolutely terrifying. Sometimes your ultimate salvation looks exactly like a beautifully wrapped, inescapable trap. Get a load of this. The absolute Don Roman leans in so close that Nina practically glues herself to the chair. He needs her real or way too predictable. He needs her real, raw desperation. She is ready to sacrifice everything for her toxic brother, and Roman wants to weaponize that energy. The deal, 6 months. She proves she is a top-tier asset, or she walks. If she backs out, her brother Josh has until midnight to cough up $296,000, or Roman's hitman will literally break his legs. It just goes to show that blind family loyalty often carries the heaviest price tag of all. Nina feels completely sick to her stomach, whispering that she has zero choice. But Roman just smirks, grabs his phone, and hits her with a cold reality check. Roman looks up, ice in his veins, and tells her she cannot just pretend this massive debt is invisible. He is giving her way more grace than her scrub of a brother deserves. Nina is literally shaking. She calls it straight-up blackmail. But our mafia boss just drops his phone and calls it business. He drops the ultimate ultimatum. She has until exactly 5 o'clock to decide. If she is in, she moves in tomorrow and hits a high-stakes black-tie gala by tomorrow night. He even checks out her basic outfit and promises his crew will upgrade her wardrobe. Nina is shaking uncontrollably and begs for time to think. Roman hits a button to have security escort her out. Honestly, when truly powerful men give you time to think, the trap has already snapped shut. Nina wanders out completely mind-blown. Stick with me here, guys, because this is where the plot twist gets heavy. His right-hand enforcer Rebecca hands Nina a massive legal folder. Nina rides the elevator down 63 floors in suffocating silence. She hits the street and the world looks normal, but her entire universe is shattered. Then her phone blows up. It is Josh, crying like a total mess. Nina stares at the contract and whispers that the Don made an offer. Josh completely loses it, sobbing he thought he could fix his own mafia mess. Nina grips her phone, knuckles pure white, and snaps back that now she has to clean it up. We all make poor choices, but the true tragedy of life is that the innocent usually pay the tab. She looks up at the massive glass skyscraper, knowing Roman is up there plotting his total domination. Nina hangs up on him, zero hesitation. She drags this 47-page legal nightmare to a coffee shop and reads every single brutal line. The terms are exactly what the boss promised. 6 months. 3 massive high society events a week. A luxury penthouse, 10 grand a month in pure cash, and financial backing for her business. The payoff? Her brother keeps his kneecaps. But guys, the fine print is an absolute horror show. We are talking ironclad, non-disclosure agreements and security protocols that would make a hitman sweat. It is a brutal lesson that when a deal looks like a miracle, the devil is usually hiding in the footnotes. Nina keeps reading, literally feeling the invisible handcuffs locking around her wrists. This girl is trading her absolute freedom for dangerous mafia money. Then boom, the ultimate red flag buried deep on page 34. A clause stating this gig involves crazy levels of personal risk. She has to follow his security muscle without question, or the deal is dead. Roman conveniently left out the ugly fact that his rivals do not use lawyers. They use bullets. Out of nowhere, her phone lights up with a text from an unknown number. Just 4 words. Your decision, Miss Vale. RV. Nina stares at the screen, then looks across the street at her normal dance studio where moms are dropping off kids. It is wild how the rest of the world keeps spinning while your own is crashing down. You and I both know how this ends. Sometimes a person has no choice but to step willingly into the darkness to protect the little bit of light they truly love. She is officially tossing her safe life in the trash. She texts Roman's fixer, demanding to see the apartment first. The reply drops instantly. Security is waiting. You have 1 hour. This place is on the 60th floor, and calling it an apartment is like calling a shark a goldfish. Her escort is Marcus, a guy with kind eyes, but the absolute tank build of a mafia enforcer. He walks her through this insanely massive space with glass walls and dizzying drops. The vibe is bright, soft, and screaming old money. Marcus drops a total bomb, laughing that Mr. Voss redecorated just for her. Nina touches a velvet sofa worth more than her life and asks what the place looked like before. Marcus just chuckles and says it was cold chrome and black leather. Maximum bachelor mob boss energy, guys. Marcus actually cracks a tiny smile, saying those are his words, not mine. Even completely stressed out, Nina almost laughs. The enforcer has jokes. He shows off her massive master bedroom, complete with a closet full of high-end clothes in her exact size. Roman's crew does not mess around. Marx flexes the perks. Private gym, huge pool, the works. Her keycard gets her anywhere, except Roman's personal floor and the sketchy sublevels. When she asks what is down there, Marcus goes dead serious and says it is none of her business. But you and I know about secrets, do we not? The things hidden in the dark usually change our lives forever. Marcus locks eyes with her and warns that when Roman gives an order, she moves. Being with the big boss makes her a massive walking target. Marcus slides her his sleek business card and tells her to call him anytime, 24/7. Nina takes it, staring around this gorgeous, crazy, expensive fortress. It is the safest place on earth, but the price tag is literally 6 months of her life. Her phone buzzes, 4:30. She has exactly 30 minutes before the deadline. Looking down at the Golden City sunset, she knows her garbage brother Josh is probably losing his absolute mind right now. Down below, her dance teachers are just finishing up, clueless that their boss is up in the clouds debating a deal with the devil to save their jobs. Sometimes survival means doing the exact thing that terrifies you the most. It is an insanely dangerous play. With 0 time left, she dials the number. The dawn picks up instantly. The silence on the line is heavy with that top-tier boss energy Roman casually throws around. Finally, he speaks. Nina stands tall, looking at her own reflection, and drops her one non-negotiable rule. Josh can never know about this twisted arrangement. As far as her brother is concerned, he is on a strict payment plan, and she simply backed the loan. Why? Because if somebody always bails you out, you never learn how to swim. She needs Josh to feel the absolute crushing weight of a line goes dead quiet. Then Roman practically purrs his approval. The line, if they have a deal. He asks if they have a deal, and she locks it in. Boom! Immediately the guy switches back to pure ice. Marcus will pick her up at 7 sharp tomorrow. Act light, her first real test drops tomorrow night. Before she can even breathe, Josh is blowing up her phone again, crying like a total scrub. She fires back a super cold text it is handled. Voss agreed to a payment plan, and she signed off on it. Josh floods her with pathetic apologies, but she is totally done. She deletes the entire thread and straight up blocks his number. It is a painful truth, guys, but sometimes cutting off the people we love is the absolute only way to save them. Next, she calls her manager, Sarah, totally faking a hyped-up voice. She spins this massive lie about landing a crazy rich art collector as a client. Sarah buys it, and Nina lies through her teeth like an absolute pro. The second she hangs up, the contract hits her inbox. She signs the screen, hits a send, and seals her completely insane fate. Immediately, the Ice Queen Rebecca calls her up to confirm the deal is locked. Josh's massive mob debt is officially wiped out, and the cash to save her studio drops by midnight. She gives a super cold welcome and hangs up. Nina just collapses onto the insanely expensive leather sofa, trying to remember how to breathe. Outside, the sunset is looking bruised and golden, beautiful but deadly, exactly like the mafia boss who just bought her life. Morning hits way too fast. At 6:45, Marcus is already pounding on her door. He looks at her 2 tiny suitcases, and she completely lies, saying she will grab the rest later. Her real life is staying right down here. But as she steps into that elevator to ride up to the penthouse, the weight of her new reality hits like a freight train. Yo, stick with me here, because those elevator doors just slit dropping. No warm welcome, just a note with 0 chill. Stylist, at 9, event at 7, be ready by 6:30. Roman is serving cold orders like a mafia boss. Nina unpacks into a massive closet, placing her mom's worn photo on the nightstand as her only lifeline. At 9, Margaret the stylist sweeps in with massive clothing racks. Margaret does not hesitate, bluntly announcing Roman hired her to make sure Nina does not embarrass him. She circles Nina like a hungry shark, taking measurements with absolute precision. It is completely brutal to watch. But honestly, life is exactly like that sometimes. When you get thrown into a room where you feel totally out of place, the only way to survive is to stand your ground and own it. Guys, Margaret is absolutely not holding back. Tonight is the Arts Council Gala, packed with high rollers who literally buy culture, with giant checks. Roman demands Nina looks like she was born into this insane wealth. For 3 straight hours, Nina is poked and prodded like a doll on an auction block. Margaret ruthlessly trashes 6 dresses before pulling out a jaw-dropping emerald gown that makes Nina look absolutely lethal. Then comes the ultimate flex. An assistant busts out a diamond necklace that steals the air right out of the room. When Nina gasps, Margaret just scoffs. Roman Voss does not do fakes. As those ice-cold diamonds lock around her throat, the heavy weight of her new life finally hits her. It is an insane glow-up, but it teaches a real lesson. You can wrap yourself in all the luxury in the world, but it never changes who you really are on the inside. All right, let us break this down, because we are stepping right into a beautifully gilded cage. Picture Nina, completely frozen in front of the mirror, while Margaret finally drops the tough act. She whispers that she knows Roman's twisted world and how it swallows unprepared people alive. Her advice is pure gold. She tells Nina to weaponize their assumptions. Let them see a pretty girl on a dangerous mob boss's arm. Just watch and learn. Nina stares at her own terrified reflection, realizing this whole night is a brutal test. Margaret leaves her with a closet full of armor and a safe magically coded to Nina's exact birthday. Roman already knows everything about her. It is seriously creepy, but it drops a massive truth bomb on us. The most dangerous traps in life are always built using the personal secrets we leave totally unguarded. Protect your peace, guys. The afternoon drags on, and Nina spends hours memorizing the faces of the board members like she is studying for a survival exam. By 6 o'clock, the girl in the mirror is a total stranger. She is polished to a lethal shine, wrapped in emerald silk, and built to survive the toxic orbit of Roman Voss. Suddenly, her phone buzzes with a cold text from Marcus saying he is downstairs and not to keep him waiting. Taking one last look at her innocent past, she hits the elevator. A black Mercedes is waiting, and Marcus actually gives her a sad smile. He tells her she looks nice, and she admits she is terrified. This entire tired drive feels like a literal march to the gallows, and the tension is off the charts. It really hits hard, though. The true tragedy of survival is that sometimes you have to bury your real, authentic self just to play the part the world demands. Have you ever had your heart beating so loudly it drowns out the entire world? Nina spends the whole ride just trying not to pass out. She rocks up to this historic, old-money hotel and gets escorted up a hidden staircase. And boom, there is the final boss himself. He is adjusting his cufflinks like a guy who casually destroys empires before breakfast. When he spots her, this wild, possessive pride flashes in his eyes. He murmurs that she cleans up well. Nina fires back that Margaret has good taste, but Roman just coldly replies that he pays her to. He steps into her personal space, his fingers grazing the heavy diamonds around her neck. It is a massive power play, proving he owns the icy jewels and the girl wearing them. It is a harsh reality check. Whenever you let someone else pay for your lifestyle, you give them the absolute power to control it. His fingers brush her collarbone, and her blood literally turns to ice. He asks if she is nervous. When she admits she is terrified, he just smirks and says it means she is smart. He offers his arm like it is a velvet trap, dropping the ultimate mafia rules: stay close, smile, be vague, and trust absolutely no one. Nina looks at this guy, realizing half the room wants him destroyed and the rest are paralyzed by fear. She desperately asks what she is even supposed to be to him. Roman flashes this hollow, terrifying smile and says whatever the crowd imagines is way more useful than the truth. He yanks her right into the blinding ballroom lights, into a shark tank of rich elites who can ruin your life without throwing a single punch. It is wild, but remember this simple fact. The most devastating wounds a person can carry are always the invisible ones nobody else can see. You and I need to look at this room together, because the ballroom hits Nina like a total truck. It is just an ocean of flashy lights and 200 voices blending into a predatory roar. We are talking women dripping in diamonds and dudes wearing watches that cost more than a literal mansion. Nina steps in, praying her emerald dress acts like armor. Roman's hand rests on her back, burning through the silk like a toxic brand of absolute possession. He tells her to breathe and act like she belongs. When she says she does not, he coldly tells her to fake it better. Savage. He instantly locks onto their main target, Victor Hastings, a silver-haired snake with a completely dead smile. The wolves are officially circling. It shows us exactly how the real world operates. In any room obsessed with status and power, your ultimate currency is simply how well you can hide your fear. Victor Hastings watches them roll up, his eyes practically glowing with malice. He throws massive shade immediately, joking that galas are beneath Roman's pay grade. Then, this total creep takes Nina's hand and holds it just a second too long. A massive, deliberate boundary cross. He shoots his shot, asking how a girl like her ends up with a monster like Roman. It is a pure poison dart. You can literally feel the violent energy radiating off Roman. But check out this boss move. Nina completely refuses to break. She flashes a smile, made of pure razor blades, and smoothly lies that Roman just really appreciates ballet. Hastings totally mocks them, joking about Roman preferring shattered kneecaps over pirouettes. The disrespect is off the charts. But that is a crucial lesson right there. The absolute worst monsters in life rarely carry weapons. They just carry cocktail glasses. Stick with me, guys, because this is where the drama absolutely peaks. Roman's voice drops to sub-zero temperatures. He casually mentions his varied tastes, and then, without blinking, he totally guts this older guy's business hopes, rejecting his big proposal on the spot. Hastings is left stammering like a fool, while Roman verbally dismantles him with terrifying logic. Wrapping his arm tighter around Nina, Roman steers her away like a king leaving a ruined battlefield. Nina whispers that it was completely brutal, but Roman just adjusts his mask and says it was purely business. Then he orders her to smile, because Catherine Weller has arrived, draped in massive sapphires. You can instantly feel her intimidating aura from across the room. It is a solid reminder for all of us. True power never needs to shout or make a massive scene. Its sheer gravity just forces everyone else to orbit it. Catherine steps up, devastatingly sharp, sounding like she drinks expensive whiskey for breakfast. She mentions rumors about Roman's new companion. In a crazy plot twist, Roman actually relaxes and his tone warms up, but Catherine swats away his flattery and locks her predatory gaze straight onto Nina. When Roman introduces her as Nina Vale, Catherine freezes. She asks the massive question, any relation to Maria Vale? The name hits Nina like a sniper round. She whispers that Maria was her mother, and suddenly, the hardened old woman completely softens. She tells Roman that Nina's mom was the real deal, absolutely magical. It is an insane moment that completely shifts the vibe of the room. It goes to show you guys, no matter how fast you run or how much expensive silk you wear, your deepest family ghosts will always manage to track you down in the dark. Roman smooths things over, mentioning Nina runs her own ballet studio. But Catherine is slick and lays a subtle trap, asking why Nina is hanging with Roman instead of working. Nina sniffs out the danger instantly. She drops a perfectly diplomatic answer, saying Roman invited her and supporting the arts matters. Catherine smirks, tells Roman not to ruin this one, and vanishes into the crowd. Roman casually hands Nina a single glass of champagne, reminding her to pace herself. Nina, still shaking, asks how many people in this massive room actually like him. He brutally admits maybe 3. Respect him? Most. Literally all of them. You and I can see right through this guy's edgy mafia exterior, though. The saddest truth is that a man only builds a massive fortress of fear and intimidation when he is secretly way too terrified to just ask for real, genuine love. Roman scans the room like a hawk tracking prey. He says being liked is irrelevant. Making sure people know crossing him is a fatal mistake is the point. Nina looks right past his suit and calls out his emotional armor. She tells him it must be incredibly lonely to be feared all the time, never knowing if anyone is actually genuine. Roman snaps his gaze to her, asking if she thinks he cares about being genuine. Nina does not flinch, claiming everyone cares. Some are just better at faking it. The rest of the night is a blur of wealthy snobs trying to find a weak spot in Roman's new girl. Nina smiles until her face hurts, deflecting their absolute venom. It is wild to witness, but it teaches us to look much closer. We often mistake a traumatized survivor for a cold villain, totally ignoring the deep hidden scars that originally forced them to learn the game. Listen up, guys, because this is where the mafia masquerade truly begins. Nina's feet are absolutely killing her by dinner, and she's sitting next to David Chen. David's got this super genuine warmth, which honestly feels wildly suspicious in an ocean of corporate sharks. He leans in, laughing that she looks like she'd rather be anywhere else, calling it refreshing since everyone else is trying way too hard. He asks about Roman, and she plays it cool, claiming mutual interest in the arts. When she mentions running a ballet studio, David just smiles, saying his kid takes ballet. You and I both know how crazy rare that is, right? But here is the lesson. In rooms completely suffocated by shady motives, finding one tiny sliver of honest connection feels exactly like taking your first real breath of clean air. So David asks where her studio is, and for 20 whole minutes, Nina actually chills out and enjoys a totally normal conversation. But boom, out of nowhere, Roman's heavy hand lands right onto her knee under the table. She completely freezes up. His touch is like that suffocating brand claiming ownership over her. Roman smooth talks his way in, claiming the senator wants to talk arts funding, an absolute surgical dismissal. As David dips, Roman leans in close and whispers for her to be careful, saying Chen is anything but harmless. She argues he was just asking about the studio, but Roman shuts it down. He tells her Chen was just fishing, testing her value. Guys, in a ruthless world run by broken predators, always remember this. Simple kindness is always viewed as the absolute most dangerous trap of all. Roman tells her that his touch lets the room know she belongs to him. Nina bites back, hissing that she isn't his property, but Roman ruthlessly reminds her that for the next 6 months she absolutely is. He pulls his hand back, acting chill as speeches kick off, but Nina's skin is on fire. The night drags on through massive flexes of wealth, like a villa selling for $200,000 like pocket change. Roman buys nothing. He just uses his possessive vibe to keep Nina locked to his side. Later, in the dark car ride back, he tells her she did well. When she asks if that is a compliment or a cold assessment, he just says both. Honestly, it is a heavy lesson. We often exhaust our souls fighting the very chains we willingly locked around our own wrists. Roman locks his ice-cold eyes onto hers and breaks it all down. He notes Catherine liked her, Chen was hunting for weak spots, and Hastings will try to use her against him, but she handled it perfectly. Nina brushes it off as just small talk, but Roman reads her like a book. He says she is mad because he marked his territory for a room that now assumes they sleep together. Nina snaps back, asking if he expects that too, since it wasn't in their contract. Roman's face stays blank. He bluntly states he never pays for intimacy. She whispers, asking why he played the part so hard then. His answer? Perception is everything. You and I know this midnight truth well. Sometimes our absolute best armor is simply the grand lie we force the rest of the world to believe. Look at this wild logic. Roman hits her with the classic boss defense, his jaw fully clenched. He claims the room needed to see she was untouchable, that messing with her meant starting a war with him. He insists those ruthless men would gladly hurt her to prove they can strike his assets, so claiming her publicly keeps her alive. Instantly, her anger vanishes into a heavy ache. When they arrive at his high-rise, Marcus is waiting with a squad of new guards. Nina asks if enemies will try something, and Roman coldly notes that people always try something. Upstairs, as Nina kicks off her shoes, Roman actually follows her inside. It is life's strange lesson. We build massive walls to keep the monsters out, only to realize the real danger is already standing right inside our home. Roman steps to a hidden bar and offers a drink. Nina reminds him of her one-glass limit, but he pours some heavy liquor and says that rule was for the gala. Here, she is off the clock. Nina collapses onto the sofa, her bones aching from keeping up the fake performance all night. She whispers, asking if they are ever truly off the clock in this dark game. Roman simply hands her a glass of dry red wine. It is exactly her favorite kind, because a mastermind like him makes it his business to know every detail. Her mind spins over the crazy events left on the schedule, but she takes the glass. It teaches us something deeply real. We spend our entire lives holding our masks perfectly in place, completely forgetting how incredibly good it feels to finally let them fall. Roman admits she impressed Catherine, unlocking doors to old money that a boss with his dark reputation simply cannot buy. Nina challenges him, asking if he actually cares about their elite gossip. He coldly replies he only cares about the empire he cannot build, while they whisper. Then he drops a bomb. She is the first woman by his side who didn't look bought. She seemed genuine. Nina sips her wine, fighting a storm of pure fear, deep exhaustion, and a foolish spark of pride. But you and I both know the true danger of playing a role, right? The real terror kicks in when someone finally looks past the act and sees the fragile soul underneath. Out of nowhere, completely shattering the midnight quiet, Roman stares right into her eyes and asks exactly what happened to her mother. Nina grips her glass so hard her knuckles turn white. It has been 3 years since cancer took her mom. There was no dad, just a fierce woman working 3 brutal jobs so Nina could chase her ballet dreams. Nina promised she would make the big leagues to give her mom a massive triumph. But listen, here is a hard truth we all face. Sometimes our best simply is not enough. Nina was talented, but not soloist material. The rejections flooded in right as the fatal diagnosis dropped. Her mom strictly forbade wasting the life insurance on impossible treatments, demanding she open a studio instead. A single tear drops in front of this terrifying boss. It teaches us that true legacies are rarely built on flashy success, but on the quiet love that survives our deepest failures. The studio was Nina's way to keep the music playing. Roman sits in heavy silence as she vents about Josh, her reckless half-brother whom she basically raised. Roman pours more wine, his voice dropping to a dark rumble. He brutally states that Josh is 21, old enough to own his ruin, and Nina is not mother. When she desperately argues Josh is all she has left, Roman's eyes go pitch black. He coldly tells her that is just a massive lie she convinced herself was true. This brutal honesty completely shatters her walls. She storms off, bitterly thanking him for the uninvited therapy session. It brings us to a painful reality. We can never heal our own lingering wounds by endlessly carrying the dead weight of people who simply refuse to save themselves. Roman's quiet voice follows her, saying she did better than she realized. Nina shuts her door, mourning the woman she was, before Roman swallowed her life whole. At 8 in the morning, Margaret brings in designer clothes. They need a sophisticated look for an investor dinner to make her approachable. Nina asks if the boss is actually softening. Margaret hands her a navy dress with a grim smile, warning that dangerous men never soften. They just get better at hiding their sharp edges. Slipping into that dress feels exactly like strapping on a soldier's uniform. As they step into an exclusive steakhouse, a chilling reality sets in. We often change our outer armor to survive the room, but our core nature rarely softens. We simply learn exactly where to conceal the blade. Nina spots Roman with 3 executives carved straight from corporate marble. Carlisle, Park, and Whitmore wear suits worth more than most make in a decade. Roman introduces her, and their cold eyes immediately scan her, hunting for a flaw. Carlyle gives a hollow smile and brings up her ballet studio. He calls her project admirable, but his tone drips with poison, mocking how tiny her world is compared to Roman's empire. It is a glaring trap to make her feel small. Instead of shrinking, Nina stares him dead in the eye and fires back that every single world requires its own absolute discipline. Her answer reveals a profound wisdom we often forget. Real strength is never about proving you belong in someone else's harsh world. It is about fiercely owning the unyielding grace of your own. You and I both know the most dangerous dances never happen on a stage. Nina states that ballet requires insane precision to make the impossible look effortless, adding that finance must be the same. Park chuckles, noting their mistakes only tank portfolios, not ligaments. As the men pivot to business, Nina watches Roman operate. Guys, he is a literal predator dressed in patience. He lets these investors talk themselves into corners before handing them traps disguised as solutions. Suddenly, Carlyle's phone buzzes. He frowns over a text from his teenage daughter asking Nina if raising girls ever gets easier. She gives a gentle smile. Not really, she admits. But often their drama is just a boundary test. They just want to see who is actually paying enough attention to care. Guys, you will not believe this flex. Carlyle drops his boss mask and turns into a total panic mode dad. He asks Nina if she has kids. She says no, but teaches 60 wild students and knows how to read the room. She tells him to call his daughter and actually listen. Real talk. You and I both know people just need to feel heard. Boom. 15 minutes later, Carlyle comes back glowing. His kid just needed a ride because her friend's parents were fighting. Nina completely nailed it. Under the table, Roman sneaks a firm, approving squeeze of her hand. The vibe instantly shifts, and they get all 3 investors on board before dessert. Later, cruising home in the dead of night, Roman is sitting there looking like a man who just won the lottery. Roman calls her move pure genius. Nina sighs, claiming she was just honest. He flashes a smile, even better. But watch this, his phone buzzes and his face completely shuts down. Instant dead eyes. He tells her Marcus will drive her home. When she pushes back, he goes full Ice King. Remember the contract. My world is not your concern. Bro literally bails at a red light, vanishing into the dark city. Riding home alone, Nina tries not to picture the brutal mafia beatdowns happening in his name. It is crazy how sometimes we stop running from the fire and start getting dangerously curious about the burn. Cut to Friday night. The mob shadows are gone, swapped for a snobby art gallery, where rich people pretend to deeply understand random splatters of paint. Roman drifts through the exhibit, playing the ultimate art sugar daddy. He drops cash on 3 canvases from a stunned rookie artist without blinking. Nina whispers that he never checked the price. Roman is totally unbothered. He says it is all about tomorrow's hype, building the jaws of Culture King. Every single handshake is pure PR. Nina straight up asks if this fake act covers his mafia crimes. His jaw clenches hard. He claims it proves he is more than a scary midnight rumor. It is a harsh truth. But some dudes will drop millions just to make their fake faces look real. Suddenly, this woman with a highly toxic smile rolls up holding champagne. She purrs that she thought modern art was beneath him. Roman's voice hits sub-zero instantly. Evelyn. Evelyn eyes Nina like trash, calling her a new toy. Roman snaps. She is a companion. Then Evelyn drops a massive bomb. She claims Roman destroyed her business lease just because she rejected him. Roman fires back that it was strictly business, but Nina feels the mob boss turn to concrete beside her. He growls, it is a lie. Evelyn gives Nina a fake, pitying look, warning that Roman collects pretty things and breaks them for fun. Roman looks ready to catch a body. He orders her to walk away. Evelyn just laughs, chugging her champagne. She calls him a cheap street thug in a fancy suit, swearing no amount of art will ever wash the blood from his hands. Honestly, sometimes the absolute ugliest ghosts from our past will kick down the door and refuse to stay buried. The villainess walks off, leaving absolute chaos. Roman is radiating pure rage. He grabs Nina's hand with a desperate grip and drags her out. The ride back hangs silent. Bro never lets go, holding on like she is a life raft. Back at the penthouse, the cool CEO is totally gone. He faces like a caged beast, choking out that Evelyn made everything up to cover her massive failures. Nina stays chill and simply nods. Roman spins around, entirely shook, demanding if she actually believes him. Nina looks at him softly. She admits she does not know him well enough to call him a liar, but she knows what a bitter person looks like. Evelyn just wanted to draw blood. Stick with me here, guys, because it is a brutal reality check. Deep pain will always make liars out of every single one of us. Nina straight up tells him she does not care about Evelyn's lies. Roman hits her with a heavy question. Does she think he is a monster who ruins women for rejecting him? She stares right back and asks if he is. He says no. Nina shrugs, saying they are done here. She points out that despite his mafia sins, he has been super careful with her. She is choosing to believe he is a decent dude. Roman closes the distance like a predator, warning that she is dangerously naive. Nina's heart is hammering, but she claps back. Maybe she is just tired of living in pure fear. It is a terrifying thing to finally drop your emotional armor. She drops the ultimate truth bomb on him. If he really wants to be a better man, he needs to prove it in the empty dark, not just when the whole world is watching. Roman stares, the silence getting completely deafening. He backs up with a dark laugh, claiming she has zero clue what she is asking for. Bro admits he built his empire on pure terror. When she pushes him on what he really is, his face turns to stone. He calls himself a violent thug who destroys things because breaking is easier than building. But Nina is not backing down. She tells him that might be his past, but it does not have to be his future. She leaves him in the shadows, her heart racing, wondering if she just signed her own death warrant. The next morning, there is a crisp envelope under her door. The note is completely icy, hiding whatever storm he fought all night. It orders her to wear the silver dress and meet him in his office at 5. We must talk. Guys, talk about a massive cliffhanger. Zero apology for last night. No mention of how she cracked open the vault he spent his life locking down. Just straight boss orders. Nina crumples the paper, hands shaking. She spends the day clinging to reality, FaceTiming her bestie, Sarah. She desperately needs to remember she has a life outside this terrifying glass mafia tower. Sarah immediately clocks that she looks drained. Nina flashes a fragile smile and lies, saying she is just adjusting. She quickly shuts down the questions and hangs up. Let us look at this together. You and I both know that horrible sinking feeling when lying to the people you love becomes second nature. By 4:30, the apartment's heavy silence wins. She finally surrenders to her fate. The silver dress waiting for her is not just clothes. It is an absolute weapon. This gown easily costs more than her entire yearly salary. It transforms her into an elegant, high society ghost. She takes the private elevator up to his lair. The floor is totally abandoned. The dying sun painting the city in bruised gold. She knocks, and his deep voice rumbles for her to enter. Roman is at his desk, jacket off, glaring at his laptop like he wants to break it. A muscle ticks wildly in his jaw. When he looks up and sees her, the dark storm in his eyes completely shifts. He mutters that she is early. She reminds him he said 5. Bro just heavily shuts his laptop, sighing that it is close enough. Guys, for the first time ever, The untouchable mafia predator actually looks completely exhausted. He finally looks so painfully human. Nina stands there and softly asks what exactly they needed to discuss. Roman walks to the windows, facing the city. He brings up Evelyn. Nina tries brushing it off, saying the woman just wanted drama. Roman cuts her off. "I need you to listen." When he turns, the raw agony in his eyes is wild. He straight up confesses he is not a good man. He has done unforgivable things simply because it was easy. In his world, pure terror gets results faster than respect. Nina is completely frozen. Then he drops the nuke. Evelyn told the absolute truth. He crushed her gallery just because it was in his way. Her ruin was just collateral damage. His fists shake, he admits. He shatters dreams for convenience. Nina's heart breaks, she whispers, asking why he is confessing all this dark stuff to her now. His walls completely vanish. "Because you said I could be better." Roman's voice goes rough. He says he cannot just flip a switch and be a good guy because she wants it. Nina boldly steps up to him. She never said it was easy. She just said he was capable. Roman warns she is naive. Nina fires back that maybe he is just so addicted to playing the ruthless mob villain that he cannot imagine another life. She asks why he bothered telling her the brutal truth about Evelyn when it made him look awful. Roman freezes, admitting he is completely exhausted from hiding his true self. Nina begs him to stop pretending he is only a monster. Roman lets out a jagged, bitter laugh, reminding her she has only known him 3 weeks. "Come with me on this one." Guys, the absolute hardest prison for anyone to escape is the one built entirely from their own crushing guilt. Nina refuses to let him off the hook. She points out what he chose not to do. He held all the power and could have made their arrangement super ugly. He could have demanded anything, but did not. She insists that restraint actually counts. Roman mutters it is an incredibly low bar. Nina finally sees the raw emotion finally cracking his dark mafia mask. Then his phone buzzes and completely ruins the detention. Duty calls. They take a 40-minute ride out to Catherine's massive estate. Before stepping out, Roman drops the ground rules. Expect crazy invasive questions perfectly disguised as sweet manners. Answer honestly if possible, vaguely if not. Listen, guys, true character is never about how much power you hold, but the terrible things you actively choose not to do. Listen to this. Right before stepping inside the mansion, Nina freezes up. She panics, asking what she should say about their fake relationship. And Roman, the ruthless mafia boss, just looks her dead in the eyes and says she can say whatever she wants because he trusts her. Guys, my jaw is on the floor. You and I know how wild it is when a dangerous guy hands you the keys to his world. Inside, the place is dripping with old money. Catherine leads them to a library filled with untouchable politicians. Nina slaps on a flawless fake smile, shaking hands and working the room like an absolute pro. But here is the real takeaway. Sometimes you have to play the brutal game just to survive the night, but every time you wear a fake mask, you lose a tiny piece of who you really are. The whole party is a crazy mix of bright lights and rich people laughing. This museum boss named Harrison walks up to her, and get this, he actually knew her mom, the legendary Maria Vale. He is totally fanboying over how her mom changed art forever. Nina finally gets a genuine smile on her face. Catherine even jumps in to hype up Nina's dance studio. The chat just flows perfectly. But check out Roman, guys. The top dog is just standing right behind her the entire time. He is letting her steal the spotlight, watching her back with those intense, dark eyes. He does not look scary at all right now. He looks like a shield. Here is a truth for you to remember. The fiercest protectors do not make a lot of noise. Sometimes the strongest support is just someone standing quietly in your corner. Dinner starts, and Nina sits by this intense lady named Diane, who runs a massive charity. Diane asks if Nina wants to team up and use grants to help kids dance. Nina is losing her mind right now. This is her ultimate dream, just dropped right in her lap. Guys, remember this. When you are brave enough to walk into scary, unfamiliar rooms, life might just hand you the exact miracle you have been hustling for. Across the table, she locks eyes with Roman, and the cold-blooded billionaire actually looks proud of her. Can you believe it? But as the plates vanish, the vibe gets super heavy. The elites start talking dirty politics. Nina stays quiet, watching the sharks circle. Suddenly, Catherine starts grilling Roman over his shady waterfront deals, and the tension is off the charts. Roman plays it cool, saying he is moving his money into clean real estate. But a politician calls him out on his dirty underground business. The room goes totally silent. Everyone knows that brutal silence where nobody even breathes. Roman does not blink, calmly saying he is evolving. Then Helen goes for the throat. She mocks him, saying he is only acting good because he is dating a sweet dance teacher. Helen looks straight at Nina and asks if she knows how Roman made his first millions. She brings up how he literally broke a girl's jaw to steal her family land. Absolute chaos. Here is the life lesson, guys. No matter how much money you make or how fast you try to run, your darkest secrets will always pull up a chair right next to you at the dinner table. Helen hits him with a nasty smile, calling him a violent thug in a nice suit. Roman grips his glass, but his voice is ice cold. Get this, he actually admits it. He fully owns up to the terrible things he did 15 years ago. The whole table is shook, and Nina is frozen. Roman puts his drink down and tells them he does not play that game anymore. Not because he suddenly grew a heart, but because he wants to build an empire that lasts. Helen rolls her eyes, but Roman shuts her down fast. He says he only cares about Catherine's opinion. What an absolute boss move. Honestly, this teaches us something deep. Real change rarely happens from some magical awakening. It usually happens when you finally realize your toxic old habits will eventually drag you straight to the bottom. Roman stares Catherine down, demanding to be taken seriously. Catherine challenges him, asking for hard proof that he has changed. Roman does not hesitate. He drops the receipts right there. He dumped his shady businesses, bought green tech, and paid for 15 scholarships at her academy. He completely traded the million-dollar question. Then Harrison asked the million-dollar question. What made him finally flip the script? Guys, Roman looks right at Nina and softly says it is because someone showed him it was possible. Boom! The whole table stares at Nina, and her face goes bright red. It is crazy to think about. Sometimes all it takes is just one single person believing you are not a monster to make you finally walk out of the dark and turn your entire life around. Catherine steps up and demands that Helen apologize immediately. Helen looks like she wants to scream, but she chokes down her pride and gives them a super stiff apology. The fight is over, but the good vibes are totally ruined. Nina just pushes her food around, feeling completely sick. After dinner, Catherine Feig drags Nina out into the quiet garden. She does not play games at all. She looks Nina dead in the eye and tells her she is exactly what Roman needs. Catherine admits she watched Roman be a ruthless mafia king for 8 years, so seeing him drop his guard tonight blew her mind. Guys, life is wild like that. Just when you think you have someone totally figured out, they turn around and show you a gentle piece of their soul you never even knew was hiding in there. Catherine tells Nina to keep up the good work. She knows Roman can rule the city without being a monster, but he needs a strong anchor to keep him grounded. She straight up asks Nina to be that anchor. Nina panics, stuttering that she only signed a 6-month fake dating contract just to pay her bills. Catherine just smirks with this knowing look, asking if it is really just business anymore. Before Nina can process that, Roman walks out. He says it is time to bounce and puts a super protective hand on her back. The car ride back is dead quiet. Nina is staring out the window, completely freaking out. It is that absolute panic when you finally realize the thick emotional you built to keep yourself safe are already crashing down around you. Nina is losing her mind. She keeps replaying those savage accusations, Roman's shocking honesty, and Catherine calling out their fake romance. The car is painfully quiet until Roman actually apologizes for Helen attacking her. Nina is stunned. She cannot believe he chose to be so brutally honest at dinner. Roman just sighs, saying lying is a waste of time. If he wants to go legit, he has to own his ugly mafia past instead of running from it. He looks at her, exhausted, and reminds her that she was the one who told him to stop hiding. Guys, it takes insane guts to stand in front of your haters and hand them the ammo. Listen, true strength is never about having a spotless record. It is about having the absolute bravery to carry your past mistakes right out in the open. Nina quietly asks if Catherine was right. Is she actually changing him? Roman goes completely silent while the streetlights flash across his face. Finally, he admits he is not sure, but he knows he tries way harder when she is around. Guys, my heart cannot take this. Back at the mega tower, Nina expects him to vanish. But nope, he follows her in and pours them some drinks. He hands her a glass and softly asks to hear about her mom. Nina is totally thrown off. He says everyone treats her mom like a myth, but he wants the real story. Nina curls up and talks about a woman who was tough as nails but would give away her last dollar. Here is a solid fact. We all carry the traits of the people who raised us. To truly know someone, you have to look deep into their roots. Nina smiles through the tears, telling Roman how her mom survived on nothing but rice and beans. She slept in subway stations and used the open oven for heat, just so she could keep dancing. She was an absolute warrior. Nina chokes up, saying her mom promised to stay alive to see the studio open, but passed away only 2 weeks before launch day. Nina breaks down, confessing her worst fear that she is wasting her mom's sacrifice by hiding in this penthouse. Roman puts his drink down, gets close, and drops facts. He reminds her she is keeping 60 kids dancing and keeping her staff fed. Listen closely, guys. Grief is a dirty liar. It loves to make you feel like a complete failure. Sometimes you just need someone else to point out the hardcore strength you cannot see in yourself. Imagine the heavy tension in that room right now. Roman's voice, normally used to order hits, gets super soft. He tells her that her mom would totally understand why she made this deal to save her brother. Nina stands there in borrowed diamonds, who somehow reads her like an open book, terrified but completely hooked. She asks why he even cares. Roman just lets the silence hang. In his dark underworld, people only listen to him because they are terrified. He knows Nina is scared too, but guess what? She bites back. She looked right at a monster and demanded he act like a good man. You and I know how incredibly rare that is. For a guy completely lost in the extreme dark, her stubborn, fearless defiance is the only real light he has left to hold on to. You and I both know how these late-night mafia confessions usually go down, right? Roman actually pulls away from her. He drops this heavy smile and literally tells Nina she proves fear is not the only currency left in this messed up world. Boom. He walks out, leaving her alone with her wine and a totally hollow chest. She sits there, realizing with absolute dread that this contract is no longer just a job. Over the next 3 weeks, they hit these insane high society galas and sketchy underground dinners. Nina is learning the twisted dance of the elite, mapping out all the predators in custom suits. But here is a simple life lesson for you. When you hang around the dark long enough, you do not just survive the shadows, you slowly become a part of them. Guys, the boss is actually changing. The violent mobster edges are there, but he is letting her into his dark world. He straight up asks her who he should trust, mentioning an investor named Patterson. Nina remembers Patterson, staring at her like a hungry wolf. She warns Roman, the guy is just looking for a weakness to exploit. Roman does not even argue home. He just calmly crosses the dude off his list. That is a terrifying level of trust from a kingpin. His hand resting on her back at these events becomes a habit. It is possessive, sure, but insanely gentle. It teaches us a simple life lesson. True power is not about how violently you can destroy your enemies, but how gently you can hold the ones you love. Roman always makes sure she has a clean exit at these sketchy parties, carrying her burdens alongside his underground empire. This was supposed to be a basic paper contract, but then the plot totally twists. At 2 a.m, her phone rings. Her dance studio, the absolute last piece of her late mother, has been completely trashed. Smashed glass everywhere, and sick graffiti on the walls. Nina jumps out of bed, choking on her own panic. Her hands are shaking so badly as she makes the one desperate call she should not make. Roman picks up on the very first ring, and her heavy emotional armor just shatters. The life lesson here is harsh but true. You can build the highest walls around your heart to stay safe, but true vulnerability happens when you have nowhere else to turn. 2 minutes later, the dawn arrives. No custom suits, no mafia mask. He barks insane orders to proceed to his security chief, demanding answers before sunrise. During the drive, Nina is totally paralyzed. Roman drives in a deadly silence, his knuckles white on the wheel. When they roll up, the studio is an absolute graveyard of smashed mirrors and ruined wood. The sick messages on the wall are a brutal blow. Nina steps out, and you can practically hear her soul snapping in half. Then Roman wraps his arm around her shaking shoulders like a massive anchor. Listen to this simple life lesson. When your entire world shatters into pieces, the real ones will not run away. They will stand firmly in the dark ruins right by your side. "We will fix it," Roman swears, his voice dropping into a terrifyingly cold tone. He immediately orders his muscle to launch an underground hunt. A clueless cop calls it random vandalism, and Roman hits him with a glare that could freeze a man. He knows the ugly language of the mob. This was a calculated hit on her sanctuary. Nina wanders through the wreckage like a total ghost. Her friend is breaking down over the ruined recital. Nina simply collapses onto the smashed floorboards, fighting for every breath. When the police finally clear out, Roman finds her completely broken in the ashes. Let me give you a quick life lesson. Hitting rock bottom is incredibly painful, but it reveals exactly who is willing to sit down in the dirt beside you. He crouches in the debris, looking like the king of a ruined castle. "This is my fault," Nina whispers, her eyes totally dead. She knows the brutal truth. A rival mobster ripped her life apart just to land a cheap shot on Roman. He grabs her shaking hands, making a terrifying vow of revenge. But plot twist, Nina pulls away. She does not want his bloody underworld justice. Violence will not sweep up the glass or dry those kids' tears. So, Roman stands up and pulls out his phone. If he cannot fix this with blood tonight, he will flex his massive empire. He promises a full crew by dawn, leaving zero room for argument. Here is a real-life lesson for you. True responsibility means stepping up to fix the collateral damage your lifestyle causes, without making any excuses. Nina desperately wants to fight him. She wants to hold on to her fierce, independent energy. But she is literally exhausted down to her bones. Surrounded by the ashes of her dream, she finally caves and whispers yes, On that dark ride back to his glass penthouse, she watches the city lights blur together. The agony is real because she knows she is a walking target now. You and I have probably both felt this way, so listen close. The hardest life lesson we ever learn is that we cannot carry the weight of the world alone. Sometimes, letting someone else protect you is the bravest thing you can do. By noon the next day, the security tapes arrive. Roman watches the footage, and his face turns into absolute murder. He growls one name, Victor Hastings. The war is officially on. The goons were incredibly sloppy, leaving their faces fully exposed. Nina instantly connects the dots. Hastings was humiliated at the gala, made to look like a joke in front of the city's predators. He hits the studio just to prove he can touch the untouchable Roman Voss. A heavy knot of dread drops into her stomach. She has seen the boss angry, but this is different. This is that terrifying, ice-cold fury. The dead silence right before a hitman pulls the trigger. Roman stares out the window, swearing to finish a feud he should have ended 3 years ago. Nina desperately begs him to show some mercy and be a better man. Listen to this harsh life lesson. When you are dealing with literal monsters, extending an olive branch is the fastest way to get yourself completely destroyed. Stick with me, because this is where it gets crazy. The raw possessiveness in Roman's voice should send Nina sprinting away, but it only makes her heart ache. There are other ways to make him pay, she pleads, begging this mafia king to avoid violence. Roman just stares. You are asking me to be the bigger person, he says. Nina fires right back. What hurts a guy like him more? A physical beating, or losing his entire empire? Boom. Something shifts in Roman. He grabs his phone, ordering a totally ruthless financial wipeout instead of a mob hit. You are dangerous, he murmurs, with a smirk, realizing she just made a literal beast pause. The life lesson is huge here. Guys, true power is never about the brutal violence you can easily unleash, but the quiet, calculated restraint you choose to use. The studio will be ready in 10 days, Roman states, his voice a deep, protective rumble. He is building an ironclad fortress around her with endless cameras and alarms. That is too much, Nina whispers, still clinging to her independence. But Roman reminds her about the kids' recital in 3 weeks. Nina swallows her pride, realizing that being stubborn will only hurt her students. Thank you, she breathes. Roman reaches over, gently tucking a lock of hair behind her ear. That tender touch is crazy coming from such a lethal man. Suddenly his phone buzzes, and the mob boss ice returns to his eyes as he completely locks down her apartment. The life lesson we find here is powerful. Sometimes the absolute bravest thing we can ever do is drop our stubborn ego and allow someone else to step up and protect us. Hastings made his move. Now I am making mine, Roman declares, slipping into his mafia shadows. Nina watches him walk away, the ghost of his touch still burning on her skin. The next week is suffocating. The boss is burning through insane 20-hour days, acting like a phantom leaving at dawn and returning past midnight. He carries the burden of a silent war alone. Meanwhile, her studio rises from the ashes at an impossible speed. We are talking pristine floors and a masterpiece funded by Roman's unseen battles. Her friends are weeping with gratitude, totally oblivious to the dark reality. Here is an eye-opening life lesson. We so often accept beautiful gifts in the light, completely blind to the agonizing sacrifices someone else had to make in the dark just to provide them. Her colleague marvels at the insane studio upgrades. He values quality work, Nina says, hiding the dark mob politics funding their dreams. Reality crashes back on the 6th day when Catherine calls. Have you seen the news? She asks, totally freaked out. Victor Hastings is ruined. His biggest investors vanished. City permits were revoked, and the banks demanded their loans back. Catherine drops the cold truth. He is finished, and everyone knows Roman did it. A heavy dread settles in Nina's stomach. Roman dismantled a rival without shedding a drop of blood, pulling off a flawless corporate assassination. Listen to this final profound life lesson. When you beg a dangerous predator to stop using his teeth, you only force him to learn how to silently strangle his enemies from the inside out. Listen to this madness, guys. Catherine sits Nina down and drops a reality check, warning her that everyone is sweating bullets. Roman just proved he can completely nuke a man's life without even raising his voice. Nina tries thy strict business card, but Catherine softly reminds her that nobody trusts a wolf, even in a Gucci sheep costume. Left alone, Nina is drowning in guilt, wondering if forcing a walking red flag to play nice just made things worse. Roman walks in later, looking like an empty shell running on pure spite. He downs a heavy drink in one gulp, staring at the glass, and mutters the guy will be bankrupt by Monday. The simple lesson here? You can dress your demons in tailored suits and teach them to smile, but their raw nature will always demand a reckoning. Picture a dude who would torch an entire forest just to kill one tiny snake. That is Roman for you. His rival's business is dust, his reputation totally obliterated. He casually tells Nina the guy will spend 5 solid years trying to recover and still fail. When Nina asks if this makes him feel better, Roman looks at her with a raw ache. He is not happy. He is dead tired. He is dead tired. But he had to send the message that if you touch what is his, you lose everything. Nina crosses the dim room, gently pulling the glass from his grip, feeling his heart hammering like a trapped bird. He admits he called in seriously dark favors to get it done. You and I know this pain, guys. The brutal truth is that revenge never actually brings us peace. It only leaves behind a colder, a much heavier kind of quiet. Roman shuts his eyes, insisting his move was legal, but definitely not clean. He murmurs that financial ruin is crueler than physical pain because broken bones heal. They sit in heavy silence. Nina stares at the city lights, wrestling with the fact that this mob boss ruined a man's life just to protect her. Roman's voice breaks the quiet with bitter regret. He wants to build something good, but destruction is his only language. Nina reminds him of the dance studio he rebuilt, proving he can create light. But Roman shakes his head, whispering that darkness is faster. He admits she terrifies him because she makes him crave a normal life he cannot navigate. The scariest thing for a hardened heart isn't a bloody war. It is the sudden for peace. It is the sudden hope for peace. This guy is begging for a life free from the suffocating vibe of violence. His scarred hand grabs hers, lacing their fingers together. She makes him believe peace is possible, even though he fears he is just a brute who ruins things and calls it protection. Nina asks why he is fighting his dark side so hard. Roman drops a massive truth bomb. He finally has someone worth changing for. Panicking, Nina reminds him their 6-month contract is at the halfway mark. Roman just traces her skin, asking what she wants to do next. 2 months ago, she would have sprinted away. Now walking away feels like ripping out her own heart. Here is a harsh life lesson, guys. Sometimes, the soul that finally saves us is the exact one we are scheduled to leave behind. Roman pulls her close, whispering they will figure it out. They stay like that until sleep knocks out his exhausted body. Nina tosses a blanket over him, wondering when this cold contract mutated into a love she cannot name. Fast forward and the rebuilt studio finally opens. The place is packed with happy kids, and parents are in tears. Sarah hugs Nina so hard her ribs practically crack. Then the recital hits, and get this, Roman actually shows up. He looks totally out of place among the suburban moms and glitter, sitting rigidly in the back row, but he is there. As the kids dance, Nina realizes something deep. True redemption never magically erases a dark past. It simply plants a small, quiet garden right on top of the heavy ashes. Nina watches from the shadows, her heart full. As the stage clears, Roman silently steps up next to her. His dark eyes scan the happy families, admitting he needed to see what his blood-stained hands actually helped rebuild. He softly points out that this pure joy is exactly why she sold her soul to him for 6 months. His heavy hand rests on her back, a touch she used to fear but now craves. He murmurs that this studio proves beautiful things can exist without being bought by fear. You and I know a walking paradox when we see one, right? Nina looks at this terrifying mafia boss who casually ruins lives, yet stands here desperate to protect something pure. It brings us to a tough life lesson. Choosing to heal and build is always infinitely more painful than choosing to destroy. We all know how fragile a moment of truth can be. Nina looks him in the eye, saying he is not as bad as he believes. Roman stares back, incredibly vulnerable, confessing he was only trying to be a better man for her. Before she can process that emotional bomb, a crash from the next room shatters the vibe. Instantly, Roman's mafia boss armor snaps back into place, and he hides behind his cold mask. Later, sitting in her quiet apartment, Nina finally faces the music. She is falling head over heels for the real Roman. Not the ruthless underground king, but the flawed guy who looks at her like she is his only light. It is a dangerous mistake. But the simple lesson life teaches us is that real love rarely bothers to ask for our permission before it completely takes over. Her phone lights up with a text from Roman, thanking her for showing him what is worth protecting. Nina shoots back a careful reply, and his answer is an instant always. Over the next 3 weeks, their professional boundaries melt away into a haze of stolen glances. He looks at her like she is his anchor to sanity. But peace is usually just the quiet before a hurricane. The illusion shatters when her brother Josh breaks through her defenses. She had been ghosting his frantic calls, burying her anger under this wild new lifestyle. When she picks up, Josh is a desperate mess, begging to know why she dropped off the map. We often run from the people who hurt us, hoping silence will heal the wound. But the lesson is clear. Avoidance only gives the guilt and the pain more room to grow. Josh's voice cracks over the line, crushed under a massive debt. He dropped a bombshell. Roman is demanding $5,000 a month for the next 5 years, threatening to ruin them both if he misses a single cent. Josh is drowning in pure panic. Nina's stomach drops. She had negotiated that debt away. Roman swore the slate was clean. Then the sickening reality hits her. She had asked Roman to teach Josh a lesson so he would understand his gambling mistakes. But this was not a lesson. This was pure psychological torture. Here is a brutal life lesson, folks. When you ask a literal wolf to guard your sheep, you cannot be surprised when he bares his fangs. Nina hollowly promises to fix it, hanging up the phone with shaking hands as her illusion of a gentle protector shatters completely. Nina storms into Roman's office, spitting fire. He stands up immediately, reading the fury burning in her eyes. When she demands to know why he is suffocating her brother with a fake $5,000 monthly debt, Roman does not even blink. His face goes deadpan, shifting into full calculation mode. He calmly reminds her that she asked him to make Josh feel the consequences. To a ruthless empire builder like Roman, this is not torture. This is just highly effective management. Josh finally quit gambling, right? The ultimate tragedy of human connection is a tough lesson to swallow. 2 people can view the exact same action and see entirely different worlds. Nina sees her brother being crushed by a cruel lie, while Roman genuinely believes he efficiently solved her problem like a total pro. Nina's voice breaks, telling him how terrified Josh sounded, convinced Roman would bury them over a missed payment. Roman's comeback is icy, stating that fear is an excellent motivator. That casual cruelty hits Nina like a physical punch. She claps back, accusing him of using her family to flex his power, and warn her not to cross him. For the first time, Roman's iron control shatters. He raises his voice, yelling that he did exactly what she asked. She wanted no physical violence, so he used crushing economic pressure instead. Listen up, because the lesson here is huge. We demand that people change for us, but we reject the messy reality of their evolution. Roman is stuck between the ruthless mobster he is and the good man she wants. He tells her she cannot have both. She has to finally choose. Guys, Nina is not playing around. Her choice is brutally simple. She is backing a guy who won't torture her brother just to flex. But Roman is freezing her out. The boss looks her dead in the eyes, reminding her that Josh blew $300,000. To Roman, every drop of that fear is totally earned. Nina flat out demands he pick up the phone and wipe the debt clean. Roman does not even blink. He drops an absolute no. Josh pays up or faces the mafia wrath. Boom, you can practically hear Nina's patience snap. She yanks off her massive diamond bracelet, the shiny symbol of his cage, and slams it on his desk. She is officially done with this guy. Roman tries tossing their contract in her face, but she just dares him to sue. It just shows that walking away from toxic people is the ultimate power move. You and I both know the hard truth. You cannot fix someone who refuses to heal. Nina tells the boss to let his empire keep him warm, turning her back on him. Roman panics. He chases her down, catching her at the elevator. For the first time, this untouchable billionaire looks totally shook, begging her to stay. But Nina is not having it. She refuses to watch him choose fear over trust. He is scrambling, promising to call Josh and undo the damage. But Nina hits him with a massive reality check. She says you cannot fix what you are. When things get tough, Roman runs back to manipulation because it is his only playbook. He actually whines that she is being unfair. Nina just shuts him down flat. Life is not fair at all. That is the exact brutal lesson he forced her to learn. Nina hits the button, watching those elevator doors shut and sever their toxic bond. She is totally drained. Up in the penthouse, she tosses things into bags like a machine, ready to face total financial ruin. But then Marcus knocks, and get this, he is not there to drop legal threats. The top enforcer looks awkward as he drops a massive bombshell. Roman does not care about the contract. The boss actually called Josh and wiped that huge debt clean. 10 minutes ago, the ruthless Don swallowed his massive ego. Marcus holds up his phone, showing a text from the boss. It says he fixed it and he is sorry. Seeing those words just wrecks Nina completely. It teaches us a brutal truth about timing in life. An apology means absolutely nothing when it shows up a minute too late. Marcus lowers his voice, his mob loyalty showing. He says Roman is locked in his dark office, completely shattered. The enforcer admits he has never seen the boss this wrecked. Nina tries to play it cold, claiming it is not her problem. But Marcus drops some truth, saying a person's breaking point is worth a second look. Nina is just frozen there. Guys, she does not leave that night. She blames the hour. But let's be real. When a terrifying guy shreds his own ego to save you, it hooks you. She has to know if this is legit. By sunrise, she ditches those expensive dresses, puts on her regular clothes, and heads back to the lion's den. It proves a huge point. Sometimes the bravest move in life is turning around and facing the exact storm you tried to outrun. The receptionist cannot even blink before Nina storms past her and blasts those doors wide open. And boom, there is Roman. The untouchable boss is standing there in yesterday's suit, gripping a glass of liquor like a lifeline. He looks so totally hollowed out that Nina actually gasps. He confesses he called her brother to fix the mess, admitting his ruthless tactics went too far. Get this. Josh actually threatened to end Roman if he ever hurt Nina again. The boss found it funny, since he could destroy the kid with a snap of his fingers. But true strength is not about mob power. It is a brother risking it all for his sister. Nina almost smiles. It is wild how the exact people we spend our whole lives protecting end up giving us the courage we desperately need. Roman sets his drink down, dropping the terrifying boss act. He admits he did not crush Josh just for fun. He thought the kid needed a brutal reality check. But then the iron mask totally shatters. He confesses he is blind to the line between a firm lesson and being a monster. In his twisted underworld, if you slip up, you are dead. Nina steps up, firing back that people are not just pawns on a chessboard. Roman's voice shakes as he admits his gut reaction was to deny her. To a guy like him, giving in feels like fatal weakness. He literally has to force the words out to admit he was wrong. It is a heavy life lesson to swallow. The massive walls we build to survive our worst nightmares usually turn into the exact prison that keeps us completely alone. The boss takes a shaky breath, admitting his obsession with dominance destroyed his decency. Then the unthinkable happens. Roman apologizes. Nina has never seen this untouchable guy look so stripped of his power. Seeing this ruthless Don act so raw totally flips worlds upside down. She actually apologizes back, taking back her claim that he was a lost cause. Roman gives a bitter smile, calling his addiction to fear pathetic, but Nina steps even closer, ignoring his deadly reputation. She knows tearing down survival instincts is pure torture. This was supposed to be a cold business contract, but here is the wild reality of life. We stack up massive barricades to protect ourselves, only to get completely tangled up in another person the second those walls finally crack. Nina drops her voice, admitting a huge plot twist. She tells him he terrifies her, but not because he is a dangerous boss. She is terrified because she actually cares if he survives this and becomes a decent guy. Roman crosses the room in 2 massive steps, his hands gently holding her face. Guys, the Dawn is shaking. He built a massive empire, but she makes him question it all. What is the point of being king if you are completely alone? He admits he has no idea how to love someone more than he loves winning, but he is ready to learn. Nina feels his heart hammering against her hands. It is the ultimate gamble. The absolute second you let someone matter, you give them the exact power to destroy you. But, honestly, taking that massive risk is the only way to truly live. Nina looks at him and lays down the law. She cannot fix him. He has to do the heavy lifting himself. Roman rests his forehead against hers, begging her to stay so he does not lose his way. Every instinct screams at Nina to run to her safe life. Instead, she closes the gap and kisses him. Roman freezes before kissing her back, like she is his last breath of air. He holds her like she is the most precious thing in his dark world. When they pull apart, Nina drops the hammer. She is staying, but the employee act is dead. No mafia contracts, no safe end dates. They are doing this together. Tossing out your safety net is completely terrifying. But real love never gives you a bulletproof guarantee. It just promises that the wild freefall will actually mean something. Nina pulls back, locking onto his eyes. She drops her terms. If he wants her, the mafia games are over. He must dismantle the violent empire he built. Roman looks grim, warning her that walking away could take years and cost him everything. Rival bosses will not just let him retire. He thinks she is making him pick between his life's work and his soul. But Nina shuts that down. She asks straight up what kind of legacy he wants. Is he a monster, or will he build something real? She refuses to back a guy who hides behind fear. Right then, Roman whips out his phone, calls his crew, and orders a total audit of his entire operation. It proves a massive point about change. You cannot build an honest new life until you find the courage to completely torch the ruins of your old one. The boss barks orders into his phone, demanding they sell off every shady business deal. Hanging up, he stares at Nina with a tense jaw. He warns her, this is about to get insanely dangerous. His cash is tied up with psychopaths who will come for blood. Tucking her hair back, he drops the truth. He can offer bodyguards, but total safety is gone. Nina realizes tying herself to a man tearing down his own mob is absolute insanity. Yet she promises to stick it out. They just have to play it incredibly smart. Now, listen to me closely here, because this is the ultimate takeaway. Doing the right thing is rarely a clean or peaceful process. Real growth means you must plant your feet and fight back when your dark past finally shows up to collect its debts. Look at this power move. Nina looks this terrifying mafia boss in the eyes and asks if his ego can handle called out. Roman actually smiles, warning her he is total garbage at being vulnerable. Nina just wants him to try. She grabs his shoulders and boom, he pulls her in for an intense kiss. Then his whole vibe flips. The big boss asks her to move into his penthouse, not as an employee, but as his equal partner. He is literally stumbling over his words. Nina knows she should keep her own place, but she is totally done running and says yes. Here is a simple lesson for you. Letting someone past your walls is the biggest leap of faith you can take. But hold on to your seats, because the next 6 months are about to put that exact faith through an absolute meat grinder. Roman was not kidding about the blowback. 3 of his own partners try to totally backstab him, trapping his exit in crazy legal warfare. Rival mobs smell blood in the water and lunge to steal his clean cash. Then, major plot twist, a bomb goes off at one of his sites. The underworld is screaming that nobody just retires. Through this absolute storm, Nina watches Roman snap into boss mode. He ruthlessly cuts the dead weight, taking massive financial hits just to stay legit. There are super dark days where his inner mobster flares up, snapping at everyone because tearing down his life work is pure agony. You and I both know that true change is never pretty. It is a brutal, exhausting daily choice to fight off your worst demons, especially when going back to your villain era would be so much easier. Nina completely levels up and learns to read his dark moods. She spots his clenched fists, knowing he is 1 second away from catching a body. She orders him to just walk away and breathe. The savage beast inside him fights back hard, but he actually listens. After one totally brutal meeting, he drops his guard and admits he hates needing someone to hold his leash. Nina hands him a drink and hits him with a massive reality check. He does not need a leash, he is actively choosing to listen. He could silence her in a heartbeat, but yielding is proof he is leveling up. Roman looks at her, melting his cold exterior, and whispers she is the only person to ever defy him and live to tell the tale. The big takeaway here? Real growth is scary. It means dropping your heavy armor and trusting the person who could break your heart. In the dark, he pulls her close, thanking her for not letting him stay a complete monster. Nina rests against him, thanking him for actually trying. They fall into this crazy good routine. By day, Nina runs her studio, handing out scholarships to kids from the streets. By night, Roman grinds through his painful villain redemption arc. Slowly, the legit business world opens its doors. People are still terrified of his name, but they respect the new empire he is building. Get this, by month 8, he totally cuts off the underworld. By month 10, his lawyers confirm the absolute impossible. The mob boss is 100% clean. Look, here is the honest truth about life. Nobody is ever entirely a lost cause. Sometimes all a broken person needs is one solid, loyal partner to pull them straight out of the darkness and back into the light. Fast forward to month 12, and high society is officially calling. Catherine Weller invites the former kingpin to an elite board. Over lunch, Catherine tells Nina that people are totally watching his glow up. Nina stresses, wondering if this good guy routine can really wipe his dark past clean. Catherine keeps it real. The past never vanishes, but his future is different. Then she hits Nina with the ultimate call-out, telling her she is absolutely in love with him. Nina whispers yes, terrified of ruining their vibe. But honestly, letting fear stop you from speaking your truth is a massive mistake. Life is way too short to play it safe. That night, Nina finds Roman chilling on the terrace, staring at the city he used to rule. She wraps her arms around him and finally drops the ultimate bomb. She tells him she loves him, complicated mafia past and all. Roman turns around, his face totally unreadable for a second. Then bam, he breaks into this genuine smile, dropping the dangerous mob boss persona. He murmurs that he loves her too, and has been waiting months for her to finally catch up. Nina laughs and punches his shoulder, but he pulls her in like she is his literal lifeline. Suddenly, the vibe gets super serious. He asks her to marry him, his voice heavy with pure desperation. Nina totally freezes. He swears this is not about mafia alliances anymore. He just wants to spend forever trying to be worthy of her. He admits he is far from perfect. And honestly, true love is never about finding someone flawless. It is about finding someone willing to put in the work. Nina can barely breathe as she teases his crazy timing. So, our fierce former mafia boss drops to one knee and pulls out a ring box right there in the dark. Roman looks up at her, completely undone. He reminds her how she stormed into his office 3 years ago to save her brother, and then spent 2 straight years dragging him out of his villain era. He confesses that she makes him want to build instead of destroy, holding out a simple ring. Nina stares at the man who burned down his own underworld kingdom, just for a shot at a normal life with her. She whispers yes. Cut to 6 months later, they are having a small private wedding. Her brother Josh walks her down the aisle, literally bawling his eyes out. Josh spent 2 years grinding at Roman's legit company to prove he was worth all the drama. You and I both know that sometimes our most toxic, bitter mistakes actually become the rock-solid foundation for our greatest comeback story. At the altar, Josh asks if she is actually happy. Nina totally says yes. Josh gives a grim nod, vowing to end Roman if he ever hurts her. But when Roman says his vows, Nina sees pure truth in his eyes. This man burned his violent kingdom to ash just to build a life with her. Year 1 of marriage is no joke. Roman still has dark mafia instincts, screaming for total dominance. Nina refuses to back down, shutting out his toxic behavior instantly. They have explosive arguments, but eventually master the art of compromise. The truth is, massive personal growth requires you to tear down the old foundation before you can build some twist. By year 2, major plot twist, his clean money totally crushes his old illegal cash. Our former kingpin is out here funding tech startups and building affordable housing like a boss. Roman completely rebrands from a terrifying crime boss into a highly respected businessman with a dark backstory. Meanwhile, Nina expands her studio to 4 locations, dropping heavy scholarships on street kids. They buy a quiet house outside the city to escape the chaos. 3 years later, baby Elena enters the chat. Roman holds his tiny daughter, looking like his heart might actually shatter. He whispers that she is perfect, while an exhausted Nina jokes that the kid is just loud and wrinkly. Later, they have a son and name him Marcus, honoring the loyal security guard who bled for them back in the day. When they reveal the name, the former mafia don literally breaks down crying. Listen, guys, it is a seriously beautiful thing when a man who spent his whole life making enemies bleed finally learns how to cry tears of pure love. Life hits this incredibly chill rhythm that Nina never dreamed was possible. They built a normal reality on love instead of mafia terror. Roman is still a workaholic who uses his need for control as a shield, but the absolute game changer? He always comes home. Just picture this former underworld terror, trying to coach little Marcus in soccer without knowing a single rule. Then, on their 5th anniversary, Nina catches him in the dark office, glued to his monitor. He is researching a struggling single mom getting crushed by medical debt. Roman looks up with tired eyes and drops his next big master plan. He wants to launch a massive foundation for emergency loans. Nina hugs his shoulders, and he admits something crazy. He feels selfish, like he is just throwing cash at people to wash the blood off his hands from his past villain era. Roman grabs her hand in the dark, doubting if doing good things for selfish reasons even counts. Nina kisses his temple and shuts that doubt down, saying it absolutely counts. He pulls her into his lap, confessing that this peaceful life would not exist without her. But Nina knows the real score. You and I both know you can point out the right path, but a person still has to walk it themselves. She reflects on her own crazy glow-up, going from a terrified girl begging in his mafia tower to the absolute queen she is today. Her brother is safe, her mom is living the dream, and the boss she once feared is now her protector. Look, flipping your whole life around is agonizing. It takes time and costs everything, but it is 100% possible. Even a massive empire built on pure terror can be ripped down and rebuilt on grace. Look at this, guys. Love has an absolutely insane power to completely rewire the most dangerous dude on the planet. 10 years down the line, Nina is standing in the lobby of this massive charity foundation Roman built from scratch. She watches broken families get the exact same lifeline she once begged for. And get this, the building is literally named after her late mom. Roman rolls up, slipping his warm hand into hers. When he asks what is on her mind, she smiles through heavy tears. She whispers that her mom would probably think she lost her mind for marrying a literal crime boss. But Roman just gives her this soft smile back. He knows her mom would see the raw truth. They took a completely desperate, bleeding nightmare and forged it into lasting hope. Roman pulls her close, his voice totally thick with emotion. He thanks her for believing he could be more than his past, for sticking around when... Running away was the easy out. Nina closes her eyes, feeling the sheer weight of what they survived, the paralyzing fear, the crazy slow process of a man learning to heal instead of destroy. She whispers her gratitude right back, thanking him for becoming a man worth the wait. They stand in a city that actually respects Roman now. Out in the car, their kids are yelling about dinner. Such a beautifully ordinary reality. Listen to me on this. Sometimes the most dangerous people make the truest partners. Anyone who fights that hard to escape the dark truly understands the absolute value of peace. A guy who knows how to tear down a cold empire also knows how to build a life that will never fall. Roman literally chose her over his mafia crown. He chose a clean life over the toxic grip of power. He chose to be a father his kids could look up to, rather than a shadow they had to excuse. You and I both know that is where the real victory is. It is not about money or status. True victory is that everyday choice to be better than you were yesterday, to build instead of break, to love instead of control. When Nina first stepped into Roman's terrifying world, she expected to sacrifice her soul just to survive. Instead, she found a love completely worth bleeding for. As his rough hand tightens around hers, she realizes that is the best plot twist of all.